my speech is on Werner von Braun, and he was a German scientist born in Weizsäck, Germany, now is Weizsäck, Poland, on March 23, 1912. He was raised by a Sicilian family because he was taken away from his parents when he was at an early age, and he hoped to major in interplanetary space flight when he got to the university he wanted to go to. And he went to the Technical Institute in Zurich, Switzerland, and also in Germany. And after that, he went to the University of Berlin. My report's in mineralogy. Mineralogy is the study of minerals and chemical combustion. And it is closely related to geology, chemistry, and physics and mathematics. Physical mineralogy is where they find the physical properties of minerals, and a luster is a degree of brilliancy or a kind of brilliancy. Chemical mineralogy is two or more chemicals or mixtures that form different elements. And some elements are sulfur, copper, and silver, and gold. And determinative mineralogy is identification of minerals. And this is where you try to find elements and properties and what they do. And a lot of them they use for building and energy and making, like ashtrays or something for buildings. And like.
My report's on Albert Einstein. He was urged in atomic research. Albert Einstein used many of his theories to make the atomic bomb. He played with nuclear fission also to make the atomic bomb. He was born March 14, 1879. His parents were Hermann and Paulina Einstein. In 1900, he graduated from the Swiss Polytechnic Institute in Zurich. In 1905, he became a Swiss citizen. The quantum theory, relativity, Brownian movement were all of his papers of 1905. In 1933, he came to the U.S. on a visit. While he was here, the Nazi government.
My speech is on George Washington Carver, and it first told about when he was a young kid, and he was born near Minnesota in 1864, and he was stolen by some night wrestlers, and this man who owned him at that time bought him back with a racehorse, and after he grew up to be about 11 or 12, he started experimenting with many plants and stuff, and he earned his name. And he loved to get out in the woods and play around and study the many different plants that were out there. And he finally ran away from home when he was about 16. And he went to this college and they refused him. So he went to this other one near Iowa, I believe it was. And they gave him this greenhouse, and he grew over 2,000 species of different plants. And it told about when he was a professor. Booker T. Washington invited him to come to this Tuckerton College, Tennessee, and he decided he would.
My report was on Michael Faraday. He was born in 1791 in a small town named Newington, now part of London, England. His father was a poor but honest blacksmith, and therefore he didn't get much of a chance for an education. But what little education he did receive, he got in a bookbinder's shop where I worked. There he became interested in books of science. He attended a lecture of a famous scientist, Sir Humphrey Davy, and in 1812 became the assistant of Sir Humphrey Davy in his laboratory. And there he received training for his experiments. He found some great scientific discoveries that he had that he found was that electricity can be made to flow in coil of wire by moving the coil in a magnetic field between the poles of a U-shaped magnet. Another discovery he made was that a current can be made more powerful simply by using turns of wire and coil.
My report's on archaeology. Archaeology is the study of ancient civilizations and past ages. The archaeologist, he goes into different places and he digs for different findings. And the findings he finds, he usually gives to museums. He doesn't keep any money, usually. He does get a salary. There have been many discoveries in Egypt. It's the Great Pyramids and the Sphinx and stuff like that. The archaeologist, he studies the language. He studies language, law, religion, literature, manners, arts, science, customs, and habits and life of the people. In language, he tries to figure out how it originated and to learn the dialect. In law, he figures out what the laws were and how they were formed, like how if they were ruled by a monopoly.
Well, my report was on Elizabeth Blackwell. She was the first woman doctor, and she was born in 1821 and died in 1910. And in 1844, she decided then that she wanted to go to college to be a doctor. And she went to many different colleges, and she went practically all over the United States. No college would accept a woman because they thought that a woman shouldn't be a doctor because they should stay home and do housework and everything. And then finally she went down in the South and in through Philadelphia, and doctors down there, they helped her and they taught her how to make incisions, and they gave her books and everything to read. And then she was finally accepted in 1847 at the Geneva Medical School in Western New York. They needed people because it was a new school, and so it said she was one of the first ones that applied. Her grades were good and everything, and so they let her in. Then her and her sister Emily founded the New York Infantry for Women. That was a place where only women could go for they went to be nurses and everything. It was just plain women hospital. They took in patients and everything, but not many people wanted to come there. Only real bad emergencies went there when other hospitals were full, when they had real bad epidemics and stuff.
Mine's on Alexander Graham Bell, and he was born March 3rd, 1847 in Edinburgh, Scotland. He went to school in Edinburgh, and at 18 he became an instructor in music, and later he went to the Westinghouse Academy in Eldon, Scotland for the first year, and later on he moved to London with his family. That was in 1865. Later on the family moved to Canada, which was 1870. And in 1871 he lectured in Boston for the deaf. From the deaf people he got his theory of the vibration for the telephone. And then he believed that this could be transferred with electricity, and he developed the telephone, and he put it into the patent office, and here it stayed there for several years, and they never approved it.
My report's on Eli Whitney. He was born in 1765 and he died in 1825. He lived in Massachusetts, and when he was 12 years old, he invented the violin and a cello, and he invented all kinds of string instruments. And during the Revolutionary War, he beat nails. He made nails for the Homage Forge. And Eli went to Yale College to learn how to invent different things for his schooling. And it took him and his family so long to save money that he was 27 years old when he graduated from college. And then after that he went to Georgia, and began to study law. Well then, in the South there was a great problem, and the question was, how could the South produce enough cotton to meet the demands of England? England's newly invented spinning and weaving machines. Well, Whitney's friends, they all wanted him to invent different things, but
my report's on Sir Isaac Newton. And he was a great scientist, and he had a lot of great discoveries and inventions and things. And one thing he discussed in a lot of his discussions was the difference between discoveries and inventions. Discovery is something that was already there, but someone found out about it, and an invention was something that you made or invented that wasn't there already. And a lot of facts about him is that he never married, and he loved his religion, and his scientific work was about the only thing that really ever mattered to him. And because of this scientific work and all the stuff that he didn't have very many friends. And the friends that he did have, he didn't have very long, and he couldn't keep them. And he never got married, and he lived to be 84 years old. And a lot of people think that...
My report's on Sir Isaac Newton. He was born in 1642 to 1727. He was an English scientist, astronomer, and mathematician. He invented a kind of math that's called calculus. He discovered that the universe was held together by gravity. He discovered the secrets of light and color. He made these 3 discoveries within 18 months in the year 1665 to 1667. That's all.
Is on Mania Sklodowski. As you know her name is Marie Curie. She was born in Poland on November 7th, 1867, and she was a member of 5 children, and it was a 5-member family. Her sisters and brothers are as follows in age. Zosia was the oldest girl. Branya was the next oldest girl. Joseph was the only boy and the third in line of the family. Hela was the closest companion to Manya, and Manya was the youngest. She went through her childhood years in a fine family and had plenty of fun with her brothers and sisters. When she graduated from high school, she taught as a governess.
My report is on Albert Schweitzer. He was born on January 14th in 1875 in Kaisersberg, Alsace. In his family, his mother and father were French. He had 1 brother and 2 sisters, and his father was a pastor. When Albert was young, he used to be a dreamer. When he was in school, he used to look out the windows and just dream of things. And he loved to play the games that all the little boys played now. When he was older, he chose to live at Lamborghini, where his hospital is that he built. And this is why he wanted to study medicine. You see, he read about the tropical diseases in Africa and the lack of medical help, and he wanted to help the people there. And when he would...
My speech is on Luther Burbank, and I got my reference from the Compton's Encyclopedia up in the library. He was born March 7th, 1849. He was a small and very shy boy. His schooling was very little, and when he was little, he went to a one-room schoolhouse and was taught by his half-sister. Later, he went to an academy. He was a very bright and intelligent boy and could pick up things very easily.
And some interesting things about his life that interested me was that before he was 15 years old, he made a steam engine for his boat, and he'd never seen one before. It was already invented, but he made one. And he invented a way when he was doing his work to feed himself, he could make his work 30 times as fast as he could before he could do it with his hands. And one time
My report's on astronomy, and the definition of astronomy is a science in which studies the heavenly bodies, and that means like the universe and things. And the branches that they study is the universe, and it's thought to be like a spear shape, or it's sort of like a seat of a saddle, like I draw in the book forward. Well, it's shaped sort of like this. And that's one way they think it's shaped. They think it's shaped like a spear also. And there's another way, except I didn't even know that one. And they don't know exactly how big it is, but as far as they can figure, it's over 3 trillion billion miles, and that'd be 30 with 24 zeros after it. And the galaxies in it are the Milky Way, and that's the galaxy that we're in. And
My outline was on the atomic submarine Nautilus. And the Nautilus is run by an atomic reactor, and its fuel is uranium-235. And 9 pounds of uranium-235 is equal to 5,760 tons of coal. So you can see that just 9 pounds is going to ship for a long time. In the turbine, the pressure, the heat from the reactor, it goes into the heat exchanger, and then it turns the turbine. And the turbine's under high pressure at all times. And protection against radiation from uranium-235 is that there's 8 feet of water when the uranium fits in the tubes into the reactor. And the radiation is deadly. And uranium is stored in tubes 3 inches wide and 4 feet high.
My report's on the atom. Well, the size of the atom is so small with naked eye you can never see it. And it takes, usually a scientist will have to have a very, pretty high-powered microscope to see it. And most people, my references said that you'd have to imagine to see it. And atoms can be combined like hydrogen and oxygen can be put together to make water. And the atomic submarines are used by atomic energy. And they're used for atomic bombs when 2 atoms will fuse together and explode. And they can split atoms by, doing a certain procedure, scientific procedure. And the parts of an atom, usually they'll have protons, electrons, neutrons, a nucleus, and an electron cloud.
Well, my report is on archaeology. And the definition of archaeology is the study of ancient mankind and culture and the past of mankind. And also archaeology has different sections, like for different periods. Like one period is Paleolithic or something, and in that period it was the development of man during the development of man during a certain period of time, and it's an immense span of time. And some of the deals where they find archaeology specimens are in burial grounds, ancient burial grounds, and down around in South America, in the Yucatan Peninsula.
My report's on George Washington Carver. He was born a slave child in
on Moses Carver's plantation, and he hadn't had a name. And when he was 1 month old, some Union sympathizers came down from the north and took all the slaves off of Moses Carver's plantation. And when they were taking them back to the north, they made all the slaves walk and everything. And Moses Carver's mother died because they walked her to death. And it used to be real cold and everything. And they were walking down the road, and she died of that. She died of because she got real cold and they walked her to death. And Moses Carver got a whooping cough, and he just about died. When he was about 6 months old, he had real bad whooping cough, and I guess when Moses Carver sent down an agent to try and buy back most of the slaves, they wanted Moses Carver wanted George Washington Carver, and so they said that it'd be a good buy because they were going to give these Union sympathizers a $300 quarter horse.
Report is on anthropology. And there are 3 kinds: physical, culture, and linguists. And first of all, I'll talk about the physical. It's a study of prehistoric and modern man. And the scientists didn't find any traces of this prehistoric man until the opening of the Pleistocene era, and then it was found by a man named Andres Versailles. And the caveman wasn't found until the upper Pleistocene too. And then the next one I'm going to talk about is, it's linguists. And
my report's on Elizabeth Blackwell. She was born in 1821 and she died in 1910. She had a sister, Emily, and she was born in 1826 and died 1910. Elizabeth went to the School of Western New York and the hospitals of London, England, and Paris, France. Her sister went to the Belleville Hospital, New York City, and she went to the University of New York. Elizabeth was the first woman of modern times to receive the degree of
My 3-minute speech is on archaeologists, and it's about ancient man, and I'll talk on Peking men first. And they lived in China, and they lived there about 400,000 BC, years ago. It wasn't as warm and dry as it is now. And what they ate were berries and other growing things that they grew, and wild game. They hunted wolves, bears, giant hyenas, and tigers. And when they caught them, they skinned them and ate them, like in caves now. And another part is Neanderthal men.
My 3-minute report is on mineralogy. And mineralogy it's a form of science, but it's a science or the study of rocks and things of this nature. And these mineralogists, or you could call them prospectors, will go out and look for minerals that are worth money, and they'll find different types of things, and like gold, it runs $35 an ounce to get a hold of, and so they go out and they try to find it to get rich. Plus, there's some scientist that goes out and find rare minerals so they can make metals on these supersonic airliners and jets.
My speech is on Albert Einstein, and he was born in southern Germany, Ulm, in 1879, and he was the son of a wealthy engineer. And his father, well, really they were, after a while they became poor because they had some trouble in the business, and so the business failed, so they moved to Milan, Italy. And they left Albert behind to go to school at Munich, Germany. He did bad purposely in his grades because he wanted to go back with his family, so every time he'd have a test or something like that, he'd purposely do bad so he could go back. And well, while he was in school, before he went back, he was teaching himself higher mathematics. And
I did mine on bacteriology, and then cartoons used to picture microns as little monsters with claws and spears. And the microns are really hard. So they're really harmless appearing, and they don't bite despite their victims. And then like in some microns sometimes pass diseases, and other times you get them from the air and everything. But then if somebody gets a disease and they can pass to somebody, another diseases that are passed, the whooping cough, scarlet fever, influenza, chickenpox, and smallpox. And microns the bacteria that causes diseases. And
My report was on Alexander Graham Bell. And he was born in 1847, March 3rd. When he was 27 years old, he started working on the telephone and studying the theories of electric wiring and how a human voice may be sent over electrical wire. When he was 29 years old, he had the telephone patent. And Bell was first to succeed in carrying a human voice over the electric wire, such as this. And when he did invent the telephone, he used to be a teacher of speech, and he wanted to be remembered as a teacher instead of as an inventor, because he thought a teacher was more honorable. And his father was a teacher of speech.
Well, my speech was on meteorology. But anyway, meteorology is the study of the weather and the atmosphere around the Earth. And the meteorologist uses many sciences, such as chemistry to determine gases in the air and stuff. And physics to explain electrical phenomena and stuff like that, electrical phenomena, and then the movement of wind. Mathematics to help them improve their weather forecast. And by using mathematics to improve their forecast, they mean they can just figure it out. I don't know exactly how it's done, but they can figure out some way of reading gauges and stuff to help them determine what the weather is.
My report's on Walter Reed. Walter Reed was born in Bearville, Virginia in 1851 and died in 1902. In 1875, he entered the Medical Corps of the U.S. Army. He was posted at posts in the West Territories and stayed there for 18 years. Then he was promoted to major and was professor of bacteriology. He researched in diphtheria, erysipelas, and typhoid fever. Then, after he did research there, he went to Cuba
and studied the cause of yellow fever. He found that the cause of yellow fever was the mosquito, that the mosquito was a carrier. He found that the mosquito stayed in the swamps, and then he poured kerosene on the swampy breeding places.
Well, mine was on astronomy. And astronomy is the study of the stars and the galaxy and the universe and all that. Astronomy is supposed to be one of the oldest sciences known to man. And the scientists, the old scientists used to think that the stars and the planets used to be the sky, and the earth was flat, and the sky used to be a dark blanket-like, and the stars were holes in the blanket, and there was a great blaze behind the thing, and like the sun. And at night that showed through. And that's what they thought the stars were. And they used to use the stars to guide themselves at night over the deserts and junk like that. And astronomy, some people take it up as a hobby, and some of the tools, you need a microscope and a...
Well, my report's on zoology.